Did you ever find yourself finishing the race and thinking, never again am I doing this bitch? But then later on, finding yourself registering for that same event? In the last few years, I've done a few ultras, marathons and Ironmans. But this race is special. The Guzzler is my home race. It was my first ultra. And this year I did it for the third time, attempting to get gold. Did I do it? Race precinct was pretty much the same, exactly same location, same aura. I wasn't as excited this year because I knew what it's gonna take me to get to my goal this year. My mentality was, as I was going to war with myself, it's not gonna be enjoyable, it's gonna be a fucking one long sufferfest, and that's what I was coming in. I don't think necessarily that that's the best approach. I think you should be excited for the races. I think that's why we are training for racing. I mean, sooner or later, we're gonna warm up and our mind is gonna settle into whatever it needs to settle in. I think the main thing that was different for me, there were some people that recognized me from the YouTube videos that I made. If you haven't watched my 2024 video about this race, there are some golden nuggets in there. It's still holding the test of time. It's still relevant. Watch it. There were some people shaking my hand and saying good job and good luck this year and enjoy the race. There was this guy when I started the race, he was running next to me and he's like, oh, you're the guy from the video. And he asked me if I'm excited for today. And I replied, I'm really not excited. He told me that I should be excited and this is gonna be my best race. And that took me a while, took me a couple kilometers, probably like 10 kilometers. And that thought just lingered with me. And only then I switched into trying to enjoy this race, and this is gonna be the best race. Yes, I was still gonna push myself, but I will try to enjoy it as much as I can. So that helped a lot. That person, you know who you are. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Leave a comment down below, maybe we could go for a run, right? Everything was fine. I was ahead of my schedule, which is normal. I peed a few times, which is also normal. I guess I was well hydrated. I think I peed like 3 times in the first 16 kilometers. It's not concerning. My strategy was just to consume liquids. I was experimenting this year with my nutrition in training, and I was researching and watching the pros, of course. I think that if you train yourself to only consume liquids, that's the best approach, because there's pretty much no chance to get your stomach upset. And usually for me, that's a big problem. And it happens every year. Something's wrong with my stomach. So this year I took this different approach, only liquids approach. My plan was to get in around 80 grams of carbs every hour, around 1 liter of water and 1000 milligrams of sodium. And I was trying to do that throughout the entire day. I think it worked, man. I recommend you to try a similar strategy, but of course you need to train your gut. And 80 grams of carbs is not that much. The pros are doing like 150, but I guess I'll work to that eventually. So up until McAfee's lookout, which is checkpoint 2, 24 kilometers in, sorry. I was just conserving my energy, trying to move as efficient as possible and just focus on my nutrition. Also pace myself, which is part of being efficient. And once I got there, I showed my mandatory item. This year it was the snake band-aid. Then I fully refilled everything, got some gels with me, and somehow managed to leave my phone in the station while doing those things. Anna was there. I had a chat with her quickly before I left the station. After I left, some volunteer came to Anna and she gave her my phone. And I didn't fucking realize that I left my phone until Lake Manchester, pretty much, for another 33 kilometers. There's a video. I'll show it to you quickly.
You left your phone. You didn't even realize.
What?
You didn't even realize. That's the thing. If Tim came after me, she's like, your cousin's left without a phone. Holy shit.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't use my phone. Now I have the camera here.
Like, will you have your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already there.
Yeah.
Or somebody.
Doctor, huh?
Arriving at the Gold Creek, my condition was great compared to the previous year. There was some incident in the previous year with my gut because of the dinner. This year I was preparing well. Rice dinner is the way to go before any race. Doesn't matter if it's ultra race or whatever the fuck you want to do. Between the Gold Creek and Lake Manchester, the terrain is, I want to say, boring. It's pretty much a lot of repetitive hills. You just go up and down and up and down. And I kept needing to piss. At this point, I peed like, I don't know, maybe 7 times. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm hydrated. It was funny. So I specifically kept the tally of how many times am I peeing throughout the race. At kilometer 42, I refilled again. This year, I was refilling at literally every station because last year I ran out of liquids twice. It's dumb. It's unacceptable. The race is called the Guzzler. You're supposed to be guzzling. Just keep on top with your water intake and refilling situation. At Lake Manchester, I had a pickle and I had some carbs. They didn't have gels there. Somehow I was running low on gels already. I think that was the main mistake that I did this year. I was relying too much on course nutrition. The nutrition that they were giving us, it was the same fixed nutrition as I was using in my training. The main difference, the nutrition that they were giving us, it was very diluted with water, or maybe it wasn't shaken enough and it just felt like instead of having 3 scoops per bottle, I was having like less than 1 scoop. And that really started getting me behind. And then I started consuming gels. I still stayed away from solids and lollies and shit like that. But then eventually I realized that I'm lacking carbs because I only met my crew 3 times throughout the race. So that means I could only get my proper nutrition mix only 3 times. That was a mistake. I should have carried either more powder or more gels. After Lake Manchester, my energy levels just started dropping and then eventually I started cramping a bit. That was the main problem during this race, but I still kept pushing. I still kept going at a good pace. I left Lake Manchester actually 15 minutes early ahead of my schedule. That gave me a mental booster because last year I was like 20 minutes late. I got to kilometer 70 and they didn't have any gels. The nutrition mix was just basically water. So I was like, okay, what the fuck should I do? And I started eating bananas. I had some orange. I had some lollies. I took some lollies with me. I just refilled my nutrition flasks with Coke instead of my nutrition mix. It was a risk. Yes, I know my stomach could get upset again, but it was a risk. I really needed carbs. And so I did what I had to do. I improvised. And also cramping situation, I just kept popping more and more salt caps. Thank God that I took extra salt caps. I was always carrying extra salt caps. So I was just getting like 5 in instead of 2 at some times. And that helped me to come back from this low carb and low salt because the carb mix has heaps of salt as well. Township really destroyed my quads. This is where the technical terrain starts. Between kilometers 70 and 84, 85, it's very technical. You have to watch every step. There's heaps of roots and rocks. Probably people just not using those trails that much. It's not well maintained and it's part of the challenge. I'm not blaming anyone. It's just what it was. It was brutal for everyone, not just me. And I tripped nearly 100 times, almost face planted, but saved myself every time. Eventually, I got to McAfee's aid station and I had an emotional breakdown. I started crying. I started hyperventilating. I thought I wouldn't make it. I thought I could not do the fucking 15 hours. And I went through this horror scenario in my head that I will have to go through that same shit again. And yeah, that was just pain. I was really quick with everything. I refilled everything. I got extras, heaps of extra gels. I got some empty flasks with the nutrition powder in it, which should be the strategy for the next race. And I left. I felt like I was not gonna make it and I was just rushing and just getting emotional and every step was pain. It's funny because Anna was telling me how she felt like as my supporter. She and my crew never saw me like that as long as they know me. That was a breakdown that literally never fucking happened to me. They were checking my pace on the tracker. I was just slowing and slowing and slowing. And Anna was nervous that I'm not gonna make it as well. I knew the course. I knew that if I just survive the hellhole and the climb afterwards, then all I gotta do is shuffle. And that should be, in theory, it should be enough to get me to the finish line before 15-hour mark. And so all I had to do is just keep running, keep shuffling forward. It was fucking hard, man. I would try and shuffle for like, I don't know, 30 steps and then I would start walking. You gotta keep running, dude. You gotta keep fucking running. This is literally what I kept telling to myself for those last 2 to 3 hours. You gotta keep running, man. You gotta keep running. And I would start running and then I would, without any warning, I would just start walking again. And that just kept on repeating and repeating and repeating. Going downhills was just fucking pure agony, man. My quads were destroyed, but I had to keep running. Forget about pain. You can't really forget about it, but try and ignore it and keep pounding those quads over and over and over again. And that worked. I got the bitch hill. I pushed through And final 5Ks, I had 40 minutes and I made it. In the end, I fucking made it with 5 minutes to spare and I crossed the finish. It was... Once again, I got really fucking emotional and I just started bawling my eyes out and that's how it ended. So now I have the 3 medals. The first one, this is a bronze medal. I took 21 hours to finish. The second one was silver. Took me 16 hours to finish. And this year I finally reached my goal. I got the bloody gold and it took me 14 hours and 55 minutes to finish, roughly. My collection is complete and it was a lot of work, but I didn't give up. And I do feel proud of myself. And I wish that you could feel the same way about something in your life, and I hope you will find that meaning. You know, once you finish something huge, it's gonna give you some sort of emptiness, leaving you purposeless. But I have some goals after this and I'll keep at it. I'll keep bettering myself and becoming a better athlete. Okay, let's talk about lessons real quick. As I mentioned, don't trust on course nutrition. That's the main lesson that I learned this year. If you're running out of carbs, if you're running out of your nutrition, then you're gonna have to rely on it, and then it's just gonna fuck with your plans, and it's a risk that you don't want to fucking take. Everything else worked great. I had no chafing. I had very minimal amount of blisters. Nothing too painful. Only my toenails, of course. That's unavoidable, I think. Some smart choices that paid off during the race. First of all, the KT tape. So I'm placing a KT tape on my wrists because every time during a race or a longer trail run, Lecky gloves are chafing me, like right around here on the wrist. This time I had this KT tape and then the gloves on top, and I didn't get chafed. I was wearing ultra thin toe socks this time. It was perfect, combined with my new carbon shoes. Carbon shoes is great because it keeps your foot level. Once the sole of your shoe hits rocks, it absorbs some of the impact. I remember last year, my feet were just bruises basically. And this time I had no issues with my feet whatsoever. And I went through muddy terrain, through water, and I was fine. I never mentioned this before. The other thing that I did for the third time, I think, my butt cheeks, they keep chafing after roughly a marathon. And so I found this solution. You take a tissue and place it between your butt cheeks, and that's gonna prevent you from chafing your butt cheeks further. Yes, I know you can use lube, but it's just not doing the trick. And the other thing that I used this year that I never used before was the T8 underwear. I used them and they worked well because also I chafe in other areas. My sack, I chafe there usually, and this time I didn't. I also paired it with some lube, so that worked well. I'll keep these in my race day playbook forever, and I hope that you're gonna take some things from here that will work for you, and you will avoid these unnecessary and avoidable, really easy to fix issues in your ultra racing. To wrap this up, I don't think I will do Guzzler next year, unless of course I'll change my mind. My next goal is gonna be to become faster, to gain more power, to fix my stride a little bit. So I will be training for a sub 3 hour marathon next. Follow my journey.